Hi, everyone. My name is Stacey Adelman, and I am the owner of Joshua Tree Learning Center. I'm also a registered psychologist, and I work with children, teens, and adults. And so today I wanted to talk about anxiety in our children. And so I was going to have this conversation today with Tiara Hogberg. Unfortunately, she's unable to join us at this time. So it'll just be me joining you today. We're going to make it a little bit shorter as I've got a bit of an annoying cough today, but hopefully we'll be able to share some good information that you can take with you and different ways that you can support children who are experiencing anxiety. So, what is anxiety? This is a really big, common word right now. Many individuals of all ages are experiencing anxiety for a multitude of different reasons. But why would kids be experiencing anxiety, and what is it? So, anxiety essentially is our body's alarm system. Right? Our brain is wired to keep us safe. And so when the body perceives or the brain perceives that there's some kind of a threat, that it will put our body or into a state of fight or flight. So it's kind of sounding the alarm to say, hey, something's not right here. I'm not feeling safe. And so we get that our body is going to react to that in order to keep us safe. So, for an example, if we were to see a snake come into the room, our brain says, hey, I'm not safe with that in here. And our body elicits a response that can feel really uncomfortable, but is designed to give us energy so that we can escape that situation and keep ourselves safe. And so what's happening with our kids is they're perceiving a lot of the situations that they're in, or many of them anyways, that they're not feeling safe for some reason or another. So there's a lot of reasons, or causes for this, which we'll talk about in a minute. But what might be some of the symptoms be? Some of the symptoms you might find in kids is that they're really fidgety or tense, biting their nails or picking. We often see a lot of difficulties with sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep, really needing to be with parents, or really difficult, having a difficult time separating from parents can be a symptom. Maybe nightmares tends to be quite common. We typically will see tantrums or angry outbursts. You know, we often think, oh, they're angry or upset, when it really they're just feeling really anxious. They have this energy inside of them that they don't know what to do with, and so you'll see some of that lashing out and that tenseness. You may see frequent crying episodes. Again, it's the body's release of that anxiety, that tension that they're carrying with them in their bodies. You may hear frequent complaints. Maybe they're complaining a lot of headaches, or maybe they're complaining of sore tummies. Again, their body is feeling all of that immense energy going through their system right now, and they just don't know what to do with that. They don't necessarily know what that means. Well, what are the causes of this? Well, lots of different causes that can be attributed to that. And, you know, to COVID-19 certainly contributed to that. We had so many frequent changes when we went through that period of time. So the brain was always constantly having to adjust to change. And so that was a very challenging time for most, and many individuals had a hard time regulating the frequency of that change, the degree of that change, or their bodies just learn to kind of stay in that heightened sense of hypervigilance. And so COVID-19, yes, we're definitely seeing an uptick in anxiety in people of all ages, for sure. Sometimes kids are struggling at school with bullying and peer relationships, and that can certainly leave them feeling anxious, unsure how to cope or how to manage that situation or manage their environment. Social media, for sure, is another reason, or video gaming and screen time. We do know that can increase anxiety in our kids. So we really want to talk a lot about putting limits around that and what that might look like in in different environments and in our homes. And lastly, anxious parents. So if our parents are anxious, a lot of times our kids are anxious. So we tend to create this dynamic where we're feeling anxious, and therefore them being around us, they start to feel anxious too. And so we need to be aware of that and how we're showing up with our kids and how we're communicating that to our kids. What might be some tips and tricks, and how can we support kids who are experiencing anxiety? I think the number one thing I tell families is we cannot avoid anxiety. The more you avoid it, the more anxiety will escalate and grow. So it's really important that we teach our kids not to avoid things that are making them anxious, but rather we want to empower them and give them the tools so that they can learn to cope with those situations that are making them feel anxious. So we do that by teaching them coping skills, right? So there's a toolbox of things that we can learn to help us learn how to manage the anxiety, to understand what is happening in our brains and our bodies and why we're getting that such an intense emotional response. We want to learn how to praise their effort rather than their outcomes. So when you see that they're trying to kind of lean into discomfort and giving that a try, you want to make sure you acknowledge that and notice that, because it's really, really difficult to do. And so they're teaching their bodies to learn to be uncomfortable and that they can handle being uncomfortable. We want to put some parameters and teach good sleep habits, right? So teaching them how to fall asleep, teaching them how to put themselves to sleep. So we want to teach some good sleep habits that way. And we also want to put some parameters around screen time, around social media use. We want to connect with our kids in the online world and have conversations around that, and be a part of that world with them. And I think that's going to be really, really helpful in helping them mitigate or manage their anxiety around that. Um, and then I think lastly, think about being a role model. So more often than not, as parents, we tend to be showing up with anxiety ourselves. I don't know about you, but as a parent, I'm always worrying about my kids. And so when we are always worrying about them, they can kind of feel that, sense that, and they can become anxious as well. So we have to be aware of that and how we're showing up with our kids. And then we have to model for them, how do we manage our own anxiety? And then we can have conversations about that. So let them see how you cope and manage. Let them participate with you. If you put on a yoga video, more often than not, they're going to join you and take part in that. Maybe they want to enjoy a walk with you, or they see you meditating, for example. They're going to learn how to copy and how to join in on some of those activities with you. We also really want to normalize it in anxiety when we talk about it. So this is something that happens to people, that we can handle this emotion, we can handle this response, and there's things that we can do to manage it. So for example, I remember when I felt that way, that happened to me when I was a kid, right? And so we normalize it. Or this continues to happen to me. I get really nervous when I have to do presentations too. This is something that's worked for me. I wonder if you might want to try that. So we normalize that this can be a part of life and that we can take control of it and we can manage it rather than make it go away or wish it away. We can teach our kids that they're capable of handling it and managing it. So that's in a nutshell anxiety in our kids. And we have many counselors here, psychologists, social workers, and counselors at Joshua Tree Learning Center who are happy to help parents and help kids in coping with anxiety. One of the groups we're offering here is called Taming the Worry Dragons. Tiara Hogberg is organizing and facilitating this group. Tiara has a master's degree in social work, has run this group many times before. This group is a popular one here at Joshua Tree and has gone really, really well. She's changed it a little bit this time in that the first session is actually equine therapy. And so she will be going to Hidden Creek Ranch near Pilot Butte. The first session for kids will be with horses. And so they'll be working through some strategies as they work through that with horses. And then the rest of the sessions will be held at Joshua Tree in our office. And it's a whole program teaching kids all about anxiety. They learn about what it is, why their bodies are having these strong reactions, and then they're getting a whole toolbox of strategies on how to cope. So if you want more information about that, we'd be happy to share that with you. You can call Joshua Tree at 306-546-5674, or feel free to email us at reception@joshuatreelearning.com. You can also talk with Tiara, and she'd be happy to fill you in and answer any questions that you might have. Anyhow, thanks for joining me today again on Tuesdays at 12. We like to talk every Tuesday at 12. I always say 12-ish because sometimes I'm running a little bit behind. But we'll jump online and share lots of ideas. Or if you have ideas that, have questions for us, please email us at reception@joshuatreelearning.com, and we'll put something together and talk about that too. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day. It's a beautiful fall day, absolutely gorgeous out there today. Thanks for joining us, and take care. We'll talk with you soon.